Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to look at what's left of my summer garden. So let's get started in this first box over here. We have lemon balm and parsley, calendula, which I'm hoping is going to reseed for next year. This is that Kiss Me Over the Garden Gate that the beetles were wanting to eat so bad. It has the pink blooms on it. The loofah vines have pretty much entrapped it, but it's still living. The loofahs are going over the trellis from here, and then this marigold. So I started my fall garden planting, if you saw the previous video. So this is spinach. I do have some zinnias behind this box that I planted intentionally, and you're going to hear me say that phrase a lot, planted intentionally, because a lot of things I did not plant intentionally. But I grew these in the green. I got them started in the greenhouse and moved up here, and they were a fun flower to use in bouquets this year. This one volunteered, and it looks like one of the floret ones, but I can't be positive. The loofahs are definitely plentiful. We're going to hopefully make some sponges this fall. And again, if you watched the previous video, we've started our fall planting. This purple basil was great for bouquets. And then these two basil have been much woodier than my other basil plant. I think because this bed just stays a little bit drier. But anyway, I'm still trying to stay on top of clipping the blooms off of it so that it's not going to seed. All right, so we have volunteer zinnias and celosia and gomphrena. I was tickled that I had some gomphrena volunteer because none of the ones I planted worked out. And then our apple mint here, which needs to be pruned. This also does great in bouquets, and I have loved using it. Volunteer zinnia and celosia. I'm probably going to use this for seeds. All right, so this bed right here, if you've been following along, was the cucumber bed, and we have sowed carrots in here, but we still have peppers going strong. Can I see what you got?
Snap peppers.
Are your fave? And in this bed here, we have more peppers. These are jalapenos and flowers. These zinnias have been so beautiful. The white ones have been my favorite. All right. These were volunteer. These have been a really pretty color too. More apple mint is over here with a zinnia over in the middle. Volunteer, of course. The oregano has been spilling out since the spring. It needs to be tamed. I've got to get on that. This cactus zinnia has been so fun. I didn't intentionally plant like all of these zinnias with the same color, but apparently that was what I was really desiring back in the spring, because I ended up with 3 different ones that color. But this one's been really pretty and fun. There are a couple of small basil right here that aren't doing as well, and more zinnias this color. The sage is very big this year. I don't know, it's just super happy. I need to be drying some of this. The comfrey that I planted back in the early summer is really taken off and is doing well. I'm hoping that I'm not going to regret putting it in the ground here, but I am glad to have this added to my herbal arsenal. Okay, so I had seeded some cucumbers here, but when I went through cleaning up all the flowers and pulling up things to get ready for fall, I screwed up the seedlings. It messed them up. So I'm going to have to re-sow those. This basil's doing really good. I'm trying to keep the blooms pinched off of it. This celosia is like all over in the middle of it too. That was volunteer. This one was. But this one I planted intentionally. I have already harvested a bunch of the big ones and I have them set aside for drying. Dahlias do not like this pot. I planted one in here last year that didn't do anything. I had some petunias in here that didn't do anything last year. And then this dahlia is just now starting to bud out. It's just not happy in this pot. And neither was this one. This one's done nothing but die. These celosia over here I'm probably going to use for seed. I know I have some friends that wanted some. This is a volunteer tomato that I was just kind of letting go to see what kind it was. All right, so if you recall in previous videos, there were flowers everywhere here. So a lot of this has been cleaned out to get ready for fall. Some of the fall things have been planted in here, but I'm also continuing to harvest these dahlias that definitely loved this spot. I think an animal, probably my dog, hopped over into this bed because this whole middle section was crushed. The zinnia was all broken off, and this is another one of that pretty color. And a pepper plant that was here was completely just destroyed. So that's what vacated this area for fall planting. This plant is huge. I needed to have some support for it, but at this point I'm scared I'm going to break it. So we're just going to let it ride. It's a bell pepper. This whole back corner is so lush. There's a lemon balm back over in there and some bell peppers, purple basil, and what is this stuff called? Hyssop. Yeah, anise hyssop. This echinacea is done for the year, but it was beautiful when it lasted. And then there's more basil, and there's some thyme down there in the bottom. These flowers all volunteered. I purposely planted the echinacea last year, and it came back bigger, so that's wonderful. But all of this celosia volunteered. The zinnias volunteered. I did plant this one here. Cosmos were a fail this year. They didn't do anything. So this one back here I think is just too shaded. This tomato was too shaded. It didn't do anything either. There's a few on there, but it's just been on struggle bus. And then we've prepped this bed for fall. So there's only a few things left. There's pepper, more purple basil. The strawberry fields Gumfrina only had 2 of the seedlings to make it, and I've had them in this bed for a while and they are just not doing much at all. So I'm really hoping that it's going to do something. Anyway, I enjoy the Gumfrina. This catnip is in a pot and it came back from last year and then of course had like seeded outside of the pot. And the bees have loved it so much. If you're wanting something that's going to attract pollinators, I highly recommend planting some catnip. And then, of course, this zinnia volunteered over in there. We have some yarrow over here. And then this kind, too. It's like a purple. And then all of these zinnias volunteered. But we can walk through here now, y'all. If you've been following along, you know that before you could not do that. You could not walk through here at all. So to recap what is doing well in the raised bed section, the herbs, the peppers, the flowers is basically what's going on up here. So as we head around, we have this raised bed here that is still rocking out with the basil, peppers, and tomatoes. So I've got an upcoming video for you guys on making pesto, and we're going to harvest a lot of this basil to do that. These tomatoes are some that came in like succession, so they're later. These are going to be like a pear tomato. They have an orange tinge to them, I believe. We have also started the fall gardening here. We've got some cherry tomatoes. Those cherry tomatoes have been a pretty addition. And then these are lunchbox peppers, bell peppers, and an Anaheim. More celosia. The dahlias are still blooming prolifically. They need clipping. I've got to get down here in the morning and do that. Look at these beautiful blooms. That's the biggest one that this plant has put off. The raspberries are also coming in. They need some serious trellising, y'all. Don't judge me. I told my husband, I was like, babe, I need you. We've got to get this taken care of. Look at this mess. I'm embarrassed to show you that. This beauty right here. So gorgeous. The in-ground garden doesn't have much left going on but tomatoes. Tomatoes is about it. So my husband recently mowed down the corn and most of the peas. There just wasn't really anything else left going on in here, and we didn't plant that plot this year. I do hope to cover crop both of these plots next month and have them geared up for planting on both of them in the spring. So y'all like send up the prayers that we're able to get that done. That is not an easy feat when you're juggling all the busyness of fall and school being back in. These tomatoes, clearly I failed at tying up everything like I should have. So thankfully they're still putting out for me even though the plants took a beating. So I do like using this trellis, but I just did not show diligence in coming down and keeping things tied up like I should have. And the rest of these tomatoes have cages, and most of these plants are finishing up. We have a few more tomatoes trickling in. It is a gorgeous evening, and usually when I'm doing my YouTube content, I'm not out here in the evening filming, and so I'm so glad to be able to do that for this video. These flowers, oh my goodness. So let's just intercede here as I walk to the tomato pit. Do I prefer raised bed or in-ground gardening? Trick answer. Both, because there are certain things that I just prefer to direct sow in rows, and that's what I'm going to do for my in-ground gardening. If it's like doesn't have to be like direct sown in rows like that, I want to use the raised beds because I hate weeds, and it is so much easier for me to combat the weeds in a raised bed area than it is in ground. So I like both. So if I couldn't do both, then I would have to have a whole lot more raised beds. And last but not least, the tomato pit. I call it a pit just because there's a dip here. There used to be a barn here many years ago, and we have composted in this area before, so the soil is just extremely rich. So these are all paste tomatoes. They're still doing a good job. I'm having to watch the chickens though. They have been coming and munching. I see remnants. So I need to put my orange fencing up. That's what that is, and I just haven't done it. And then a lot of these have gotten top heavy and flopped. So with them being like indeterminate, they just go and go and go. But we're still getting tomatoes off of here, and it's so very wonderful. And the variety on these paste tomatoes is Amish paste, and I got them from Baker's Creek, Baker's Creek rare seeds. I used them last year, loved them, and so we planted them again this year. Also, this sunflower volunteered in our fire pit. How beautiful is that? Also, a sure sign that fall is coming. This mum is blooming. I have been coming by and picking them off, trying to delay it blooming out so that it'll be more into fall before she's a beaut. And I'm just going to end up losing this battle, I believe. I also clipped some of these hydrangea blooms to take inside to dry for indoor fall decor. After talking about those raspberries, I had to walk back down and pick some. Thanks so much for joining me on a tour of my garden and what's left of the summer garden. I hope that you enjoyed and that you'll like and subscribe so that you can catch us next time.